LSU, no, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going off to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This is the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up, hey. 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 Way down in the back.
Hey!
Let's go.
Live. We are live. Welcome into Tigers Avenue. Zach, it's been a minute. It has been an official show. We ran a little informal thing last night. If any of you hopped on, I don't know if any did. But if you did see it, we were on last night chatting a little bit about the College World Series final game. LSU Tigers are the 2023 College World Series men's champion. Number 7, you're going to get a new Intimidator tomorrow. They're going to celebrate it tomorrow. Year 2, first time Jay Johnson's year 2, first time a coach in his second year has ever won the whole thing. I mean, what a year for the LSU Tigers and this baseball team. What an incredible season. A team that will be remembered forever, and that will be solidified by what happened last night in Omaha. Zach, for those who haven't been or weren't on last night's show or last night's whatever you call that celebration, we had to watch practically the entire Omaha, the bracket side of Omaha. I mean, well, we didn't even watch it. We literally had to find out the score every single night. It was tough, but I mean, every single night we were pleased, except for Tuesday night, right? Tuesday night.
Yeah, I mean, we watched
night.
bits and pieces of it. I mean, to give our listeners that will listen on the audio podcast and our viewers that are watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. Me and Reagan were gone. We had a camp we had to go to. Reagan was the director of the camp. I had to do a lot of other things on the side, video, sound, helping out with games, all kinds of different stuff that we had going on with this team camp that we were helping out with. And it's in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. Literally, population is 87 in Smithville, Arkansas. Yep. The only thing that they have there is like the church camp. That's like that's it. That's all they got. And so the whole week, we had terrible service, which bless the Lord, I got a phenomenal cabin that was in the area of where they have their Wi-Fi. I was able to do all the work there and also keep up with the LSU games. So each night we had to be in the main area, the service area, the tabernacle, whatever you want to call it, at like 6:30. So we really only got about 30 minutes to watch the very beginning, and even then it was during while we were eating before then. Yeah. So usually it was like on my phone, I'd prop it up against some like a paper towel holder or something like that, and me and Reagan were watching the game. And that's how it was. And like Reagan said, most of the nights, by the time everything got done with service, the game was over. It usually ended up being 9:30 or later, I think, Reagan. By the time we actually got to, step aside and go and check out the score. The only other night that changed was on Thursday night when they went to extras. And luckily for me, unfortunately not for Reagan, but for me, I got to go literally watch the last pitch. It was very last. I literally just caught it. Like I knew the score had been 0-0. We got into a service, had no clue what the score was. I go to my cabin, open up my phone, and I'm like, holy cow, it's still going on. And it's 0-0, right?
Golly.
And this is to get into the Natty against Wake Forest, right? Paul Skeens had shoved, Rhett Lowry had shoved, Hurd was holding it down. I go and say goodbye to my good buddy Ben Brandon. He was leaving his part of the band. I say goodbye to him. I check my phone Hurd had gotten out of a 2-on, 2-out situation.
Yeah.
Dylan gets on. I'm like, I got to go watch this. We got 1 on, no out. I literally get the phone pulled up, and first pitch, Tommy hits. The first pitch I see on my phone in the cabin is the walk-off. And next thing you know, we're in the national championship. I went berserk, running through the camp, going buck wild. I go find Reagan and quietly tell him that we have walked it off in the 11th. But yeah, the gist of our week, Reagan, was checking the phone. Whenever we could get service in the tabernacle, we were, getting updates from Dad, texting us every now and then. Really, it came down to like I would go, Reagan would still be busy, help, getting things taken care of and getting things wrapped up. And I would go check my phone, and then I would relay the message to Reagan, hey, this is what happened, right? And then around midnight, midnight 30 or 1 a.m. in the morning, me and Reagan were finally able to get on YouTube and watch the highlights and like watch every out, watch every at bat, watch the hit, So
shout out Wheels. Shout out Wheels. Shout out Wheels and Matthew.
Shout out Wheels YouTube. If y'all don't know who Wheels YouTube is, go check them out. They are responsible. Wheels YouTube is responsible for us being able to watch the games every at bat and what happened in every at bat. So it was awesome. It kind of sucked not to watch it live, but it was kind of working for us, right, Reagan? Like, me and Reagan were just like,
we're just gonna live with the results.
We're just gonna live with the results. Like, we're not gonna look at it, and then we're gonna live with the results. And every single night, outside of Monday or Tuesday, I think it was Monday. Was it Monday?
Monday, I think it was.
When they lost to Wake Forest. Outside of when they lost to Wake Forest, that was the only time it was bad, right? And so of course, eventually we get to the championship series against Florida, and like I said last night, Reagan, I was concerned because LSU had to go through the losers bracket. Florida did not. Florida had all of their arms rested. They had a normal weekend rotation set up, ready to go. We did not have Skeens. Ty was going to have to go against their one. We're going to have to see, what happened game 2. And then maybe we got Skeens game 3. And Reagan, it was just awesome, awesome, awesome. The game 1 is the big, obviously winning it in game 3. Game 1 was, massive. It was the biggest part of that 3-game series. Because one, you had on paper, you had a pitching disadvantage, right? And then Ty Floyd went out and shoved and proved everybody wrong and had 17 strikeouts, tied the record, and it was phenomenal. And then you had the late heroics of Tommy White and Kay Beloso in his 5th year gets the go-ahead in the 9th inning. Cooper comes in, shuts it down, gets you his 3rd save, I think, of the College World Series. Dude, it was just phenomenal. Game 2 is what it is, and Jay managed that phenomenally. I always say, like, you never give up on a game, right?
Yeah.
But if that was giving up on a game, like, that's what you did on Sunday. Unfortunately,
you were saving arms. You were just getting to the end of the game is all you were doing.
Once they had, the Grand Slam, even after the Grand Slam, you're still within, 1 hit from tying it up, right? Once they got outside of that, there was no need to go to your best arms. What you do there is you're not giving up the game, right? Because what you do is you hope that the guys you bring in, play well, they perform well, they pitch well, and then your offense gets going and you get back into it, right? That's what you hope. So you don't just give up on the game, but you prepared yourself for what looked like was going to be a loss, right? You prepared yourself for the most important game, which would have been obviously the deciding game 3. And so, puts in Collins, puts in Dutton, did Little pitch. Honestly, I got to be honest, I didn't watch it.
He did. Little pitch.
You put in Little. You put in
Dutton, Money, Little.
You put in Money.
Collins.
You put in those guys, and you're not relenting. You're not like just handing them the win.
You're getting to the finish line.
You're saying, okay, y'all have this in command. We're going to see what these guys can do. maybe goes out and, then the offense turns it on. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. So Jay played it perfectly by setting himself up for game 3. You had all of your best arms available for game 3. They had an extra day of rest, and it worked out perfectly, Reagan.
Yeah, and if you needed Paul Skeens, you could have used him. You didn't have to use him. That's what's so incredible about this finals is the guy did not pitch a single pitch. Sorry, I got Luca with me tonight on my own.
All good.
But the guy
got baby Luca celebrating with us.
Yeah. He's kind of fussing, but the guy didn't pitch a single pitch, and you beat Florida on a normal weekend rotation.
Right? Yeah. Reagan just points to me. He's like, all right, you go. As he takes care of Luca. Look, Reagan, for me, at the beginning of the game yesterday, obviously, Hurd had a slow start, right? We weren't able to perform anything, to get anything going in the first inning. Trey had a really bad strikeout. Tommy had a bad strikeout. Not great ABs in the first inning. And yet, you still had some hope, obviously, that the offense would get going. Then, unfortunately, in the bottom of the first, the first two guys reached for Florida with the base hit and then the home run. I got to be honest, I'm going, okay, here we go again. Like, is this going to be a situation where the offense that we saw the day before for Florida is going to continue to do their thing? Or is her going to settle in, and is the offense going to be able to get going and to be able to stable up and keep you in this ballgame, right? Ultimately, that's what happened, right? And the offense had a massive explosion of a hit parade.
Dude, Hurd did not even record an out, and it was 2-0. And I mean, if we're all going to be honest, we're all like, crap, like this. Here we go again. But Hurd, after that, did not allow a single hit. I mean, he locked it in. The offense got rolling. Here's the reality is LSU did really good against all three of their starting pitchers. You got Sproat out early, you got Waldrop out early, and you got Caglione out early. And
every single one.
That ultimately is what won you this game, because game one was Sproat. You had to they had to go to Fisher and Neely early and had to use them. And so yesterday they really needed Caglione to get them a few innings so that then Fisher and Neely could kind of close the game out. Caglione were jumping all over him early. And so he only gets an inning and a third, and so they immediately have to go to Fisher. Fisher gets 4 hits, is getting crammed, and then they have to go to Slater. And then after they go to Slater, all they have left is Neely. That was it. Of good arms, all they had was Neely. What happened to Florida yesterday or last night is what happened to LSU game 2. Is their good arms were gone. Like, they were having to throw Purnell and Nesbitt, and we were making them pay for having to throw those kind of guys. I mean, Kevin O'Sullivan was literally doing what Jay Johnson was doing. Caglione couldn't get it done. Nate Ackenhausen couldn't get it done. I mean, Nate Ackenhausen went longer than Caglione did, but they started touching up on Nate Ackenhausen. So they went to, I think it was, who did they go to first out of the bullpen? After Ackenhausen, I'm drawing a blank. Anyways,
I want to say they went to. Did they go to Coop? No,
Cooper was sick that day. Maybe
they went to Guidry.
I'm drawing a blank, honestly.
I'm drawing a blank as well.
Maybe it was Collins. I don't think it was Collins. I think Collins was like the third guy in. Maybe y'all can remind us who came in after Ackenhausen game 2. Anyways, but then you go to the next guy. They continue to rake, and then it's like, okay, let's go to these guys and see if they kind of hold it together. Maybe we can get some offense rolling, and then we'll see what we can do later on.
Jason Baker said, I think it was Guidry. I think it was as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what he maybe was trying to do.
It was Guidry because Guidry was the one that gave up the grand slam.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well,
yeah,
didn't really give up
a pop fly.
Slam. Man, gave up a pop fly that flew out with the wind. A 51-degree pop fly that never would have gone out anyways. But so they go to Guidry. So it was a very similar situation for LSU game 2 that it was for Florida, right? You got Ackenhausen not working out. They got Caglione not working out. You go to Guidry. Guidry's one of your guys. And then Florida goes to Fisher. Well, Guidry gets punched in the mouth. Fisher gets punched in the mouth. So they got to go to Slater. Slater is one of their better guys, but Slater gets hit in the shin with a liner from Trey Morgan, and he's shaken up a little bit up from it. It wasn't the same, and really wasn't given his best stuff anyways before the one he took off his shin. And then we went to Bryce Collins game 2, and after that, it just got out of hand. After Slater, it got out of hand. I mean, it was the same situation, and at that point, there was no reason to burn any more arms. And for Florida, all you had left in the pen was Neely. And so your only hope was try to get Nesbitt and Purnell to get you a few innings. Hope that your offense can do something to get you within a few runs, and then you give the ball to Neely. Instead, it just got out of hand. I mean, Purnell and Nesbitt and, all those. I mean, we had already jumped on them before Purnell and Nesbitt came in. So, it was the same exact thing that happened. And that was because you jumped on Sproat and Waldrop early and were able to get them guys out of there. And they had to use more arms than probably they expected to. And that's a tip of the cap to our offense. We had great plate approaches. We ran pitch counts up. I mean, Sproat threw over 100 pitches in 4 innings. When they pulled him in the 4th inning, he was over 100. Waldrop was at 80-something in, I think, the 3rd inning when they pulled him game 2. They pulled Caglione, and he was pushing, I think, 50, 60 pitches, and they were in the 2nd inning with only 1 out. So that was a tip of the cap to Jay Johnson and the game plan that they had for all of these pitchers. It was a phenomenal plan, and ultimately that is what won you the College World Series, because you won the important game 1. Ty Floyd gave you the game of his life, saved your arms, where Florida had to burn their arms, and they lost the game. It was a massive hit. Game 1 was a massive hit because they had to burn those arms and took a loss. And so you had to almost hope that you got to game 3 for Florida. Fortunately for them, they did, but it didn't work out for them because LSU was all over Caglione. The reality is Caglione can throw 99 and can touch 100 every now and then, but he's like all over the place. And if you're patient at the plate, he's going to walk you. He's going to hit you. I mean, he's got 85 strikeouts on the season, but he also has like 50-plus walks. So it's exactly what happened with Caglione. I mean, the pitch he threw, he hit Beloso in the back. And, man, so I really think it came down to that is our plate approaches and our ability to run pitchers off really helped us in the long run. And the way that Jay Johnson handled the bullpen and managed the staff through the series won you this game. Won you the championship. The pitching outside of game 2 of the finals was phenomenal all Omaha. I mean, literally.
What was your biggest concern going into the postseason?
It was your biggest concern. And outside, they threw up the stat yesterday, outside of game 2, where Florida put up 24 runs, our staff had a sub-2 ERA. The entire staff had a 1.97 ERA. And
Jason,
up to game 2, leading up to game 2, the bullpen had not allowed one single run, not a single run.
Jason makes a good point about that. He said, I really love how Jay Johnson handled the bullpen after the SC tournament. You saw only the ones that he knew that was going to perform. You didn't see some of them till game 2,
Correct.
Hence the 24 runs.
Yep.
Exactly. And,
it's an inflated number. Just like our score, 18-4, is inflated.
Correct. And we did talk about that. I mean, going into the postseason, that obviously was a concern, but we knew, it was going to get limited because you're not playing 4 games in a weekend, right? Or in a week. You can rely off of your ace and Paul Skeens and Ty Floyd, and in the super regional, you win both those games, you're done. You don't have to worry about any other arms, right?
Yeah.
In the regional, if you get a great start out of Skeens, Hurd, and Floyd, then you're done. And that's what happened in the regional. And you don't have to worry about bullpen as much. And then in the College World Series, see, in Omaha, that's where it changed, right? That's where we got concerned because you lost the game. And now you're going, oh, crud. Now we need arms. And Nate Ackenhausen and Griffin Herron extended, which you didn't think you were going to get, right? Nate Ackenhausen had the longest outing of the season, and he gave you that, and that allowed you to still only stick to the arms that you needed. You didn't have to go to the back of the bullpen and use arms that you had that you'd used in the regular season that had not performed as well, and that had been made the bullpen look concerning. So, yeah, I mean that's the gist of a regular. That's why you play 56 games, and then when you get to the postseason, who are the guys that you can trust, right?
Yeah. And
that's why, as fans, and I got to say this to myself as well, and I think we should say this to ourselves. We can't, when we're in the regular season and some things are going bad, we can't freak out and go, oh, well, this is going to affect the postseason.
They'll never make it through a regional.
Because guess what?
Never make it through a super.
We're not going to make it to a super regional. We're not going to make it to Omaha, with this, with X, Well, by the time you get postseason, probably a lot of the issues that you have, either you have already worked out or they have been left out of the equation season, right? They are taken out of the equation. Now, sometimes it's different. You think back to last year, and you didn't have any starting pitching, so you had to heavily rely on the bullpen. You had to heavily rely on the back end guys, right? And thank goodness you had Paul Gervais and Eric Raiselman, that could extend and give you big time outs. They were out getters. Imagine if you don't have those guys Cooper. Imagine if you don't have those guys, last year. You definitely don't make it through a regional. That's
how about
sure.
Cooper? How about Cooper, man?
Phenomenal.
He deserves all the credit he gets.
Jay, he is a pitcher that Jay trusts the most, and you see why. Like, he's got to work some things out in the regular season. We had to let that go, right? You got to allow him to work some things out. But when it mattered the most in the postseason, every time Cooper came in the postseason, he was lights out.
Bro, he was amazing.
Did he give up a run in the postseason outside of the home run in Game 3 against Florida? I don't think so.
I don't think he did.
I don't think he gave up a run outside of the solo shot that they hit. And at that point, you're just trying to get out. So you're throwing strikes, trying to get out.
Robert, his latest comment there, Cooper needs to come back for a senior season. I think, look, guys, I'm not like picking on Cooper or anything, but I think this is the height for Cooper in his career, baseball-wise. I mean, he may be drafted and play a couple years in the minor leagues, but Cooper's not a guy who's going to make it to the show. I mean, some guys, that's just the reality for them. This is probably the top baseball they're going to play. So a guy like Cooper, I think, is a guy who will come back. That's just my opinion.
No, that's a good point you make. And, we need to discuss, potentially near the last segment, we'll kind of look towards the end of this season and get a glimpse into next season, discuss transfer portal options, discuss who you might see stay, discuss, what's a potential day one starting lineup. Obviously way, way, way too early to discuss that, but we know y'all want to discuss it. I want to discuss it, Reagan.
Yeah,
it's
we'll
interesting to talk about. So we'll of course do it, right?
But you
outside
won't
of just
know what the whole team is before, because the transfer portal.
Yeah, of course.
But we'll still do it.
we got to see what happens in the transfer portal. But look, outside of just the game itself, Reagan, just, sentimentally, just, man, it was so satisfying. And I said it last night, and I'll say it again for our viewers and our listeners that will eventually listen on the audio podcast on Apple Music or Apple or podcast or, Spotify, whatever. And it's like, well, duh. But just to say it out loud again, like I did last night, it's Dylan Cruz's last year. It's Trey Morgan's last year. It's Jordan Thompson's last year. It's Kay Beloso's last year. It's Gavin Dugas last year. It's Paul Skeens last year. It's Ty Floyd's last year. It's likely Alex Milazzo's last year, maybe. It's maybe Braden Joe Bear's last year. It's maybe Hayden Travinsky's last year. Right? And there's other guys we're not mentioning, right, that didn't have as big of roles. But like those 10 guys, those are guys that played major roles in this team, not just this year, but in the past few seasons, right?
Yeah.
Like that's 10 guys. 10 guys that love LSU, that have worked their tail off to get to where they got to this season. They had because you had those guys, veteran guys, juniors, fifth-year seniors, 2-year guys that are draft eligible, guys like Paul Skeens who came out of the transfer portal, and you had to heavily rely on for your pitching staff. Like those guys, because you had all those guys, there was major lofty expectations placed on this team. I mean, we said it, Reagan.
No.
I mean, I said it. Like, it's Omaha or bust. If you don't make it to Omaha this year, it's a bust because of what you have on this team and because of the expectations.
And it would have been. It would have been.
And it would have been. It would have been, right? But they exceeded the expectations. We wanted them to get to Omaha. We knew a championship was possible, right? But we also know how difficult it was to win a championship. And yet this team did it. And not only did they do it, they did it in the most improbable way by losing a game and going through the losers bracket and getting to the championship, to getting to the title series, and ultimately winning that title series. It just makes me so happy for all of those guys that love LSU, that love this program, that love Jay Johnson, that we, the fans, love. I mean, these are guys that we talked about it like a couple episodes back. Like, we're going to tell, you're going to tell Luca and Zeke, eventually when I have kids, we're going to tell, our kids eventually about Dylan Cruz. We're going to tell our kids eventually about
greatest LSU player all time.
The best first baseman ever at LSU, which was Trey Morgan. We're going to tell our kids about Jordan Thompson and the adversity that he overcame and the season that he had this year. We're going to tell them about Paul Skeens being the best pitcher that we've ever watched in our and obviously eventually they'll be players down the line that will come along and they might overtake a Trey Morgan or even a Dylan Cruz. I mean, it's possible, right?
I don't think anybody thought Ben McDonald's numbers would have been.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure nobody thought that Ben McDonald's records been broken, but down the line, eventually, here comes Paul Skeens, and he breaks that record. Like, these are players, this team, these players, this coach, this season. We're going to tell our kids about that. Like, we're going to tell, future little LSU fans about like it's amazing. It's insane to think about. So anyways, Reagan, do you have anything else before we get to some comments?
Well, I mean, to add to that, I was telling y'all this last night on like when we were going back and forth, FaceTime and whatever we were doing. I can't remember. Like, you did it, and you did it in a way where like almost nobody can question the fact that you were the best team. Like, so I know we lost the first place position, and we told you at the beginning of the season, almost nobody ever goes beginning of the season to end of the season at number one the entire season. Like, at some point, and LSU will falter.
LSU did a pretty good job of holding it down for a really long time.
They at some point LSU would falter. It's baseball. You'll lose that number one spot, and it'll be okay. It'll be fine. Look, LSU, without question, proved through this postseason run, through their season, that they were no question the best team all year long. You had a hiccup in the last two seasons, the last two series. You had the last 2 weekends of SEC play. You had a hiccup in the bullpen. Just couldn't kind of figure things out last 2 weekends. Rough patch. You lose to Auburn. You lose to State back-to-back. It was a rough spot. You lose your number one spot. But the reality is LSU was and is and has proven that they were the best team day one, and they were the best team the very last day. Literally the very last day of college baseball. They proved it. I mean, you beat everybody who was somebody this year. Everybody. When South Carolina early on the season, everybody's like, geez, Casas and Petrie and Will Sanders and this South Carolina team looks like the team to beat. Well, you went to South Carolina, you traded 1-1. You finally got that rematch in the SEC tournament, and you beat them 2 out of 3. You beat Arkansas 2 out of 3, who lost in a regional. You beat Florida 2 out of 3 in the finals. You beat Tennessee 4 times out of 5 times that you played them.
You beat Kentucky 4 times out of 5.
You beat Kentucky 4 times out of 5 times, who was the RPI number 2 team in the nation going into postseason play. And, of course, you beat Wake Forest, who looked like the best team in the country.
You
after
beat Texas in the midweek, early on in the season.
Yeah, you beat Texas early in the week, and you beat Wake Forest 2 out of 3 times. So like you won a series against them essentially, and you faced their best. All 3 games, you faced their best. So you faced Rhett Lauder, their left-hander, and the guy on the second game we played. I'm drawing a blank on him. Like you faced their 3 best guys, and you beat them. You were the best team, and there was no question about it. And then you went and played Florida in the finals, and you did not pitch. And for all the stupid people, sorry, I'm going to say it, for all the stupid people who wanted to say that LSU did not have pitching outside of Paul Skeens, guess what? Paul Skeens didn't throw a single ball in the World Series finals, and LSU won the whole thing.
In the biggest stage of college baseball, LSU did not use the best pitcher in the country, let alone the best pitching prospect since Strasburg.
Strasburg. Yeah. I mean, you were hands down the best team, and they could have been better. They could have been better, guys. You lost Grant Taylor and Jaden Newt before the season started. Grant Taylor was easily going to be your number 2 guy. I mean, you would have had 4 true starters by the end of the season.
You would have had
Taylor,
you would have had Floyd potentially as your Sunday guy, and Hurd in the bullpen, or a midweek guy. How insane is that?
And then your 2 best bullpen arms, Chase Shores, who can throw 99 as a true freshman and has command of his, like, he's not erratic. He has command of his pitches. And Garrett Edwards, a veteran player, who were amazing out of the bullpen for you. Easily your best 2 bullpen guys. Both of them tear their UCL, need Tommy John surgery, and you lose them, and you still go out and win the World Series. I mean, you were the best team. There was no question about it. We knew it at the beginning of the season. Everybody knew it. It was the most talented team in college baseball, and they proved that they were the best through the way they played all season long and the way they capped off this Omaha. I mean, like you were saying, they went the hardest route against some of the best teams, and you still got it done. It is a phenomenal run. It is definitely top 3 of the championships LSU has. There's no question about it. I think 97 is probably the number 1.
96.
Or 96 is probably number 1 there. And 2000 and this year can battle it out for number 2 in the championship. So incredible. I mean, I cannot put to words this kind of run, how amazing this was. And like you were saying, all 10 of those guys to cap off Dylan Cruz's career with a national championship. It was just the cherry on top. He's done everything, Zach. He literally did everything. He did everything. He won the Golden Spikes.
We didn't talk about that.
SEC Player of the Year.
Right.
I mean, everything. 2-time first-team All-American. Perfect game freshman of the year. His freshman season. I mean, he is everything. And then to finish it with a national championship, it solidifies his legacy as the greatest baseball player in LSU history. And you should retire his number. Nobody should ever wear number 3 ever again. And it's just amazing. I mean, this season is incredible. It will be remembered for ages. They have immortalized this team. Just like we're talking about 91, 96, 97, we're going to be talking about 23 when we are old and decrepit, Zach. I mean, we're going to be talking about Dylan Cruz when we can't hardly walk around.
Yeah.
Because of how incredible this season was, how incredible of a player he was. So, I mean, I hope y'all enjoyed every bit of that. I made sure to message my dad and Zach right before Dylan Cruz came up, and I said, guys, this is going to be his last at bat. Enjoy it. I mean, remember this moment because this is the greatest LSU player of all time. Like,
it was funny because he ended up coming back up to bat
and got another hit. I mean, those are my thoughts on this season. It is everything you could have wanted it to be. Everything. Yeah, and probably Carl Dunn, you're probably right. Paul Skeens is probably the best pitcher to ever come through LSU. And that's saying a lot. That is saying a lot. That is a mouthful. To say Paul Skeens is the best pitcher to ever come through LSU.
Talent-wise, yes. Career-wise, I mean, obviously Ben McDonald.
It's like Joe Burrow. He only had 1 year.
Yeah, it's like Joe Burrow. I mean, just came in and had the most dominant pitching performance that we've seen. And
I do think you should maybe retire. I don't know if you retire the number 20. So there's a difference here, Zach. You can retire someone's jersey or you can retire the number. If you retire the number, nobody ever wears it again. If you retire someone's jersey, it's kind of an honor. Like it's an honor thing, but someone can still wear that number. They may retire Paul Skeens' jersey. They may do that with Paul Skeens since he only pitched 1 year, but you never know. I would be perfectly fine if they retired number 20. I would be fine with that. But, you'll have to see how that plays out. And it's a very long – I wish they would change this rule with LSU, but just to give you all a heads up, guys like Joe Burrow and Dylan Cruz, guys who we know for sure are going to have their jerseys retired, numbers retired, it's going to be a while. I think the rule is they have to be 5 years removed from their pro sport. So they have to go through their entire professional career, and then 5 years after their professional career, then their numbers retired. So it's going to be a while. I wish they would change that, but
is what it is.
So, anyways, this season is everything LSU fans wanted it to be. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you soaked in those memories because that was a phenomenal College World Series run. And I mean, Zach, LSU aside, the whole College World Series as a whole was incredible. I mean, you had everything. Competitiveness, a number 4 seed competing, beating TCU game 1, all of it. I mean, it was amazing. All
right, Reagan, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hit a few comments, and then we will look ahead to next season and even give some transfer portal updates, mention some names that are currently in the portal, and maybe one name that's not in the portal right now, but could potentially end up being on LSU's roster. We'll be back right after this.
5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at OneNationDoty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
back at it here in the Tigers Avenue to kind of have our last segment here. We know there's lots of comments flying here, so we'll get to those first. Appreciate all y'all commenting. Zach, throw them up there. Let's see what we got.
All right, Robert. Obviously, a follower of the show, has been very consistent. We appreciate you, Robert, being in here with us, especially to celebrate the Natty baby. He said, "I'm interested to see what Newt and Appleby do this year." Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, Newt. Both those guys, are potentially could be guys that are in a starting rotation. Maybe they're weekend guys. Maybe they're a Sunday, role player. We'll have to wait and see. But I am excited to see both those guys.
I think Newt eventually will definitely work his way into the rotation. I think Appleby could, this coming season, could be a key role in your bullpen for sure.
Adam said, do you guys think the NCAA changes the balls or bats due to the dangerously high exit velo off the bat? Maybe a little bit. I kind of like where the game's at right now. I mean, it still is entertainment, right?
It's more offensive.
It's still entertainment, right? Sports is entertainment. That's what sports was made for. It's meant to bring in revenue. It's meant to entertain. And in baseball, if you want to entertain, if you want to bring in more revenue, it needs to be more offensive. Does that mean that ERAs are going to go up? Yes, we've seen that in the past couple of years. But guess what? You still have guys like Paul Skeens who can absolutely shove and shut down offense no matter what bats you have or what baseball bats they're throwing. So I like where the game's at right now, Reagan. Maybe they tweak it a little bit, but I think the NCAA and college baseball in general likes where the game's at right now.
Yeah, I love where the offense is at this year. It made it a lot more fun. The home runs were up. Everybody loves home runs, and the home runs was up across the entire board, and I think everybody loved it.
Ryan's in here with us. Appreciate you joining us, Ryan. As always, in this day and age, Paul is better than Ben. Talent-wise, yes. If you want to look at a career, there hands down it goes to Ben McDonald. But if you look at just strictly talent in a single season, it's Paul Skeens. There's no question. Okay, so this is what we want to get into, right? Big MIL said, go ahead.
Real quick, Robert, remind me of the JUCO player we talked about a few weeks back. I know his last name's Reeves. I can't remember what it is, but that's another guy who's transferring in who could find his way into the starting lineup that I forgot about.
He's already announced he's coming to LSU?
Oh, yeah. He was committed to LSU a long time ago. His last name starts with Reeves, and he was just playing in the JUCO College World Series, and he batted like over 400 this year.
Wow.
And, yeah, remind me of his name, Robert. I remember you talking about him. Go ahead.
We'll get into that. So, Big MIL ask any news on baseball recruiting. And speaking of that, Robert says, Wednesday, Jay be portal hunting in effect. It might be today. I don't know. He might allow himself to celebrate today, and then like you said, tomorrow, Wednesday, go to work.
I don't know.
It's Jay Johnson, man.
He's probably on the phones already. He's probably on the phones last night.
Dude, it was
after winning the Natty, he's probably already on the phone.
In the middle of the College World Series, you had what? 2 guys commit. You had Justin Lahr and Cade Woods commit, right?
Cade Woods.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so here's what I want to discuss because Robert also brought this up. He said, I honestly do see Chase Burns coming. I hope I'm wrong.
Robert, do you not want Chase Burns?
Do you not want Chase Burns? Because I do. I'll be honest with y'all.
He's the hottest name in the portal right now.
Also, did you notice the timing of when his name got entered, like officially? Right after LSU wins the national championship, the name drops. It's in the portal, right? Like we kind of heard rumors, it was discussed, but nothing had been officially made yet.
Right.
And there was even some like, okay, maybe Tennessee got him back. Maybe Tennessee convinced him not to enter his name because it had been a couple days. LSU wins the national championship. Kendall Rogers, boom, boom, boom. Oh, by the way, Chase Burns has officially entered his name into the portal, right? Yeah. Coincidence?
I think
not. Look, I'm gonna be honest, Reagan. Reagan got a little dark. I don't know what happened there. But you
Yeah,
almost
when I get too
disappeared.
close to my camera, the light changed. It's my bad.
Anyways, I don't know about you, Reagan, but I believe that Chase Burns is going to be an LSU Tiger.
Yeah,
I believe it. I believe it.
yes.
That's not just a belief. There's some sourcing behind that, but I'm telling y'all, there's a high likelihood. Now, can it change? Yes. Could Tennessee come back and offer him the bank and he ends up staying at Tennessee? Yes. Could Florida or somebody else come into the picture? But I mean, I was talking with my buddy Louie today, and he's a big Arkansas fan, and we were discussing NIL, and he's an Arkansas fan, and even as a massive Arkansas fan, he realizes like LSU, like nobody is gonna, like, there's not many teams that can say that they can compete with LSU when it comes to NIL, money and putting
Backing.
a lot of resources into LSU baseball, right?
Right.
And he's 100% correct, right? And that's why you have the likes of Tommy White, Paul Skeens, Thatcher Hurd on your team, right? That's not going to stop. And after you win a national championship, guess what? It's only going to get better, right?
Yeah.
I think you're going to see some upgrades to the box. I think you're going to see some upgrades to baseball ops. And you're going to continue to see big NIL opportunities for big time players that are in the portal. Do you think LSU is just going to lay over and say, okay, next year is a rebuilding year. We won the national championship. We're going to rebuild.
We're settling down.
We're settling down. No, Jay Johnson's going to hit the portal.
He wants another.
He wants to go back to back.
He wants another. One.
He wants to go back to back. So Chase Burns is a big name that's in the portal. I'm pretty sure he is the best arm in the portal right now. And there is a high like. There's a high.
He's not just the best arm in the portal. He's the best name in the portal. Highest profile.
He's the best name in the portal.
No question.
Period. So, listen, guys, I'm pretty confident LSU is going to go and get him. Reagan, another name to look at that. Now help me out, Reagan. Who's the guy at Clemson?
Billy Amick.
Billy Amick is another name to watch. I also like LSU's chances with Billy Amick. Haven't heard anything officially. Don't have like any sourcing behind that, but I do like LSU's chances. Did we ever find out what he plays? What position he plays?
No, it just says infield. I mean, he's an infielder is what it says.
If he's an infielder, you need middle infield, so go and get him, right? And obviously, I would like LSU's chances for that as well. Also, a name that is not being mentioned a whole lot, but is a name that I think people need to look out for is Luke Hill. Luke Hill, guys, is a shortstop that starts for Arizona State. He bats over 300. He's not a power hitter. But he's a great defender, and he's from Baton Rouge. Yeah. And in his recruitment, it was down to Arizona State and LSU. Arizona State was first to the party. They were the first ones to get on and recruit him. LSU was a little bit later in that process, and he eventually commits to Arizona State. He is not in the transfer portal as of right now, but you need middle infield, and he is a really good middle infielder. So that's another name to keep in mind.
Yeah. Yep. So there's other than pitchers, there's obviously we've landed Justin Lower, and Chase Burns is kind of a hot name and looks to be.
Robert said, speaking of Burns, he said there's Tennessee people saying that TCU is big on the mix. I gotta be honest, Robert, that's the first time I've heard that.
I like LSU's chances over TCU.
Yeah,
just my opinion. But
he also said he doesn't want him because he wants to start. I don't think we can offer him. I hope I'm wrong, just because it started. Listen, Chase Burns with the right development. I mean, he's got the stuff that you want. His stuff, right? When you're talking about just pitching, his stuff is elite. It is first round talent type stuff. If he wants to come be a starter at LSU and you need starters, right? You're losing Ty Floyd, you're losing Paul Skeens, you're going to have Hurd back. I would assume he is going to be one of your starters.
I would like Hurd, Lauer, and Burns. That sounds nice.
That's a pretty good starting rotation with potentially Grant Taylor. We'll see what Grant Taylor does. He is a draft eligible sophomore. If he gets healthy and wants to try and get a first round, work himself into first round picture, that's a big question mark, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, if Burns is available, you go get him, and he is. You go get him. Go and get him. Peyton said his family is pushing him to go to TCU. We'll see. That obviously plays a major role. That obviously plays a major role. Your family in deciding where you go. Ryan said the same thing. It could come down to LSU and TCU. The deciding factor is whether or not he starts. All right, Reagan, anything else on transport before we move on here to looking a little bit into next season and then wrap show up?
Yeah, another name that I would like to see is another Xavier pitcher. If you can't land, let's say Chase Burns somehow does go to TCU or something like that. Ethan Bosacker was teammates with Justin Lauer this past season. His ERA was 3.49, pitched 101 strikeouts and 98 innings pitched. Solid pitcher, another guy that I would love to see come to LSU. Look, there's lots of great talent in the portal, lots of great names, and LSU is going to be at the forefront of any guy that they are wanting. Any guy that LSU and Jay Johnson really wants, they're going to be in the mix. I think they're going to be in the mix of any guy they want. So
Cardone said it was before LSU won. He declared after. I guess he's talking about Burns. Well, the news broke about his intentions to enter the portal, but his name didn't officially get entered into the portal until last night.
I saw it announced by Kendall Rogers this morning.
So, maybe it was this morning. Either way,
it may have been
the
last
national championship. But Carl Dunn, you are correct. There was rumors swirling that he had planned to enter, but it was nothing official.
Ryan's asking about the Air Force pitcher. Yeah, unfortunately, Sawyer Hawks has committed to Vanderbilt, which stinks. You can't get them all. I mean, you can't get everybody from the portal. It's just not going to happen. But, last year you got what you wanted, but you didn't get everybody. Look, there's guys in the portal. We have guys on our roster. We have a freshman class coming in that's going to be really good. So Jay Johnson's going to go get who he needs and who he wants, who fits what he wants. And so, I'm fine with whatever Jay Johnson goes out and does. Do we want certain guys? Absolutely. But Jay's going to go get who he needs and who he likes, and I'll trust whoever he decides to get.
All right, Reagan, let's look a little bit ahead to next year, and then let's wrap up the show. So real quick, I wanted two things. Who stays? And then secondly, way too early starting lineup next season, okay?
Pitching coach too, I guess, real quick.
Yeah, we can discuss that.
So real briefly.
Nate Yeski.
Yeah, I think it's going to be – you're correct. I think it's going to be Nate Yeski. Maybe someone else. I would put my money on Nate Yeski, though. And within the next, I don't know, I'd say week or so, you probably have that announcement of whoever it is. Even if it's not Yeski, I think you're going to find that out pretty soon. So not going to be long. Right. So, Zach, what were you saying?
So why don't you go first, Reagan? Milazzo, Joe Bear, Hayden Travinski. Stay or nay?
Oof. Any of the three that I think are gone, most likely it's definitely Joe Bear.
Joe Bear. Yeah.
The most likely.
Stay or nay? I need a prediction. Stay or nay for all three.
Okay, I think Joe Bear's gone. I think Travinski stays, and I think Milazzo moves on. So
you said Joe Bear gone, Milazzo gone, Travinski stays.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I still think Milazzo would stay though. If there's a spot for him.
I think Travinski stays, and I think he's your DH next year. I do think Joe Barry gets convinced to come back. I think he comes back and they work on him hitting the breaking ball because he struggled with that a lot this season. I think he comes back and they work with him on hitting the breaking ball, and then he enters
or laying off of it.
Yeah, or laying off of it.
When they hang it, he hits it a long ways.
Yeah.
But if he don't recognize it and it's a good location,
he
tends to swing over it.
Yeah. So I think Joe Barry does come back, and I think that would be the biggest announcement. Is probably Grant Taylor would be, but offensively, like that'd be massive. That'd be massive if Joe Barry announces that he's come back. I do think he comes back. I think, and I agree with you. I think Milazzo is gone. I think he's gone.
I think it's out of the fact that like
Brady Neal's behind him.
Brady Neal's behind him. Jared Jones, Ethan Frey.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Like this is his. I mean, what is this? His fourth year at LSU,
third or fourth.
I think there's a spot for him on a minor league team, and I think he goes.
Yeah,
I think he just has to go. He won an national championship. I think he's gone.
So we'll see. Now does
Grant
Taylor
improved this season? And his bat improved.
Go. We'll see. I honestly can't give you a prediction there. I think I'm leaning more towards he stays, but we'll find out. Okay, Reagan. I'll go first, and then we'll switch it up now. I'll go first, and then you can go. So I know y'all want to hear it, and it's fun to discuss. So way too early opening day lineup for your 2024 LSU Fighting Tigers, the baseball team. Left field, Josh Pearson. Center field, Paxton Kling. Right field, Braden Jobert, because I think he's staying. Could be wrong. If it's not Braden Jobert, I think you could see a transfer portal guy there. Maybe. It all depends on, these conversations are going to be being had, with Jay Johnson. So we'll find out. But right field, Braden Jobert. First base, Bear Jones. Second base, I think, is a transfer. Shortstop, I think it's Gavin Guidry. Unless they get Hill. Then I think Guidry shifts over to second and Hill goes to short. Or vice versa. Third base is Tommy White. Obviously, catcher, Brady Neal. DH, Hayden Travinski. And your starting rotation.
Burns lower hurt.
Burns on Friday. Burns on Saturday and Laura on Sunday. All right, I'm done.
Look, if that's your starting three, it's better than this year. If that's your starting three, it's better than this year's starting three. As a whole, look. Yeah.
I don't know, Reagan.
You didn't have a true three this year. You didn't have a true three.
Ty Floyd, those two right there.
I'm saying as a whole three. A whole three. You didn't have a three. Look, your number Skeens, Floyd, I'll take over.
Hurt eventually became your three.
And I'll take that. But, man, if you got those three and they got their stuff going, it's going to be hard to beat us in a weekend series. It's going to be really hard, which it was this year too.
And you're probably going to need to rely a little bit more on the pitching next year because I guess another name we didn't mention is Coop. Does Coop stay or leave? I think
Coop stays. I think Coop stays.
I agree. And that's a massive arm for you out of the bullpen next year.
My starting lineup for I don't know if Paxton Kling takes over center field yet, but I'll give it to him. So I'll give left.
He's draft eligible next year, Reagan.
Huh?
Paxton Kling will be a draft eligible sophomore next year.
Really, man, that's gonna stink. That'll stink.
I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he'll be 21. So
okay. So Pearson left. I'll give Paxton Kling center field. Right field, it's either going to be a transfer or Connor Griffin. If he signs with LSU, you could see him in the outfield. True freshman Connor Griffin out of Mississippi. Right field's going to depend on whether Jobert stays, transfer, freshman. But Connor Griffin, that guy, if he comes to LSU and doesn't go to the draft, Connor Griffin may find his way in LSU's outfield next year. Third baseman, Tommy White, no question. Second baseman is, I think, going to be a transfer. I think second baseman is going to be a transfer.
So we agree there.
Bear Jones will be your first baseman. Brady Neal, your catcher. Travinsky, your DH. Shortstop's hard for me just because we don't know. Like we got Michael Braswell coming in already, and you got Gavin Guidry on the roster. So I would say right now it would be Guidry. Right now I'd say Guidry.
So pretty much the same.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, pretty much.
But I think
right there
I think all of this could be absolutely wrong by the time the
yeah, it could
over.
be completely wrong. Could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll find out. All right, Reagan, let's wrap the show up. We'll take one last final break, and then we come back, Reagan, we'll wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Make sure you go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Tigers Avenue, for daily updates on the show and all things LSU sports. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click off and hit that subscribe button at Tigers Avenue. We broadcast all of our shows live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Robert, I appreciate you letting me know that. I thought Connor Griffin was with this class. Bear Jones will hit 40 home runs next year. Jeez, that would be something. Appreciate you telling me about that, Robert. I thought he was with this class, so that's a good little nugget to know. So probably either Joe Bear or a transfer or something like that out in right field. Man, guys, what a wonderful season LSU baseball has had this year. A season that we will remember forever. Tip of the cap to all the guys who came and stayed and fought through adversity. I mean, Dylan Cruz and Trey Morgan and Jordan Thompson and Gavin Dugas and Cade Beloso. All you guys, you earned this. And I am more happy for you guys than like winning a national title in general. I'm more happy for you guys to win it than anything. Than as a fan watching LSU win it. I'm more happy for you. And this season is everything we could have wanted it to be. And the Tigers are national champions once again. I can't wait to see what the Intimidator is going to be like tomorrow with the new 2023 added to it. They've already got it, and they're going to be putting it up and revealing it tomorrow at the championship celebration. So, guys, enjoy this year. We'll see what happens this offseason and portal and pitching coach. But, man, I'm going to enjoy this for now. And Jay Johnson is an amazing coach. Here he is in his second year with a national title. I have no doubt in my mind that Jay Johnson's going to continue to recruit relentlessly, continue to bring the best talent here that he can to LSU, and he's going to continue putting LSU in Omaha year after year, constantly competing in the SEC, constantly being at the top in the forefront of things. So super excited for the future of LSU baseball. So, hey, if you're here on this show, AYS is starting their show. It's probably already started. So if you want to watch another show, hop over to AYS if you can and join Blake, and Zach will probably be over there and may make an appearance on that show as well. He'll definitely be in the background producing and whatnot. Guys, it's been a great show. LSU is national champions once again. It's a great time to be a Tiger, guys. We'll catch you next time here in the Tigers Avenue. 5-Star Hero, take us out. Peace.